Hello, everybody. This is Lowell Thomas speaking. As many of you know, for long years, my work has been the gathering and the disseminating of information. Accurate information as far as possible and without prejudice. During recent years, with the war on, this has been coming from all parts of the world and from every front. It's my job to bring the drama of the great conflict before your eyes. And when I see something important, and something important is happening right now, and it's a vital part of the drama that is taking place on one of the fronts that I haven't covered too thoroughly. The home front, the drama of the American family, the folks next door, the neighbors down the block, the Joneses, the Browns, the Hardys, Clancy's, Simcoes, Tonelli's, Spence's, the millions upon millions of American families who are helping to fight and win this war. We can't meet them all, so let's drop in on the Allens, a typical American family in a typical American town. Here's Marty Allen, a first-class American citizen and the head of a family. This is Helen, Marty's wife, a first-class grade A homemaker and an active leader of community war work. And Teddy, their younger son, a sophomore in the high school. He does what he can to beat the Axis, too. And right now, he's busily engaged in gathering scrap for the salvage drive. Bob Allen, the older boy. Well, Bob can speak for himself.
Mom. Hey, Mom.
Yes, dear?
Will you call Bill White and ask him to meet me in front of the registration board?
Young Bob Allen and Bill White were just about the first teenage youngsters in their community to register in the draft. They had their hearts set on serving in the same outfit, too. Why, they'd been buddies since they were 6 years old, gone through grade and high school together, played on the same team, fine American boys ready and eager to fight for their country. And it wasn't long after registering that each of them received notice from their draft board to report for physical examination.
Tokyo, here we come.
Oh, boy.
About 4 months later, Bob was pacing the living room floor. He was obviously nervous and equally apparent that he was expecting someone. Then his visitor arrived. It was Bill. A man wouldn't have to be a detective to figure out that Bill was home on his first furlough and brimming over with the rugged good health that speaks so well for the care of our soldiers. But, well, notice, Bob, not in uniform. How come? That's part of the important drama that was and still is taking place on the home front. You'd get what I was driving at if you'd listened in one evening a week later, when Bob had his sweetheart Sue Davidson and Bill White over to the house for dinner.
Oh, you'll fill out a little more in a year or so, Bob. I knew you were underweight, but I didn't think the Army would turn you down.
It sure is lonesome around town now. You know, there are not many of the guys left in the old gang. Everyone seems to be getting in the Army.
Teddy, you haven't touched your milk.
Why do I have to strangle on this stuff whenever I sit down to eat? Look at Pop and Bob. You don't make them drink milk.
No, but they ought to, Teddy. A grown man or woman should have a quart of milk a day.
A quart a day?
Gosh, do you want to drown us in milk?
I couldn't drink that much.
Well, you don't have to drink it all, Mr. Allen. You can eat part of it. In cheese, soup, cream sausage, and in ice cream. The experts in the nutrition classes I've been attending are pretty serious about it.
A quart of milk a day for each of my men. Oh, that's too steep for the Allen budget. Have a piece of cake, Sue.
No, thank
Billy?
No, thanks.
Expensive? Why, milk is one of the most inexpensive of foods. If Helen had realized it, along with some other facts about good nutrition, Bob would have had a uniform like Bill. And good, steady, plugging Marty Allen might be turning out as many propeller blades every day as his neighbor, too. And Teddy, well, he might have made the basketball team. He had plenty of fight, but he didn't have enough energy to fight with. Like a lot of people, he didn't realize the health-giving strength of milk. Yes, if such things were to happen, Helen would have to learn that even though food items are expensive today, a well-balanced meal of necessary foods can be served without extra or added cost. Among other things, Helen would have to learn to take advantage of the food value in a quart of milk. More than 2 whole pounds of food, rich in butterfat, which builds up a reserve of strength. Protein, which makes sinuous, solid muscles. Carbohydrates, for quick pickup and extra energy necessary in these times. Phosphorus, a vital mineral to the body. And vitamin A, important to good eyesight and a healthy skin. Calcium, for good bones, teeth, strong, straight bodies, and a stable nervous system. Thiamine, for the utilization of carbohydrates. Vitamin D, for good, strong bones and fortification against rickets. And vital riboflavin, important for growth and development and better eyesight. All these things are tremendously important to health, and they are all present in nature's most nearly perfect food, milk. Milk has been known to entirely sustain life for long periods of time. Let's take a look at the source of the supply at the dairy herds. How are they cared for? What steps are taken to ensure cleanliness and complete protection in the production of milk and other dairy products? Well, first, these American herds are among the finest in the world. Much patience, time, and skill have gone into their development, backed up by selective breeding and proper feeding. Their appearance and productivity attest the excellence of this care. Men especially chosen and trained for the work look after their wants. A strict schedule of feeding and milking is maintained. And if you don't think regular hours improve one's appearance, take a look at this little beauty. Milking time is precaution time in the modern dairy farm. The utmost vigilance is exercised from beginning to end. First, the udders are washed and made ready for the milking that follows. The mechanical milker, as a labor-saving device, is rapidly replacing the time-honored method of hand milking. These mechanical milkers are gentle and efficient in action, and of course, they assure the highest standard of protection. The milk cannot possibly come in contact with any source of infection. The average milking yields about 10 quarts, and each cow is milked early morning and late afternoon. This is equally true of other dairy farms, where the milk is poured through a filter into 10-gallon cans and quickly cooled to 40 degrees. The cans are then transported to a receiving station conveniently accessible to the various farms in the surrounding countryside or shipped directly to the city processing plant. The conveyor belt, in its measured tempo, moves the precious burden of health along its journey. Cans are emptied into a stainless steel tank, and the total product from each producer is accurately weighed. The empty cans are placed in a mechanical washer. A washer that thoroughly washes, sterilizes, and dries them, and pats on their lids as if to say, now you're all nice and clean. Go out and bring back some more of that good, pure milk. That's exactly what they do, thanks to the fine, healthy cows and the business-like farmers. After the milk is weighed, it is cooled to 40 degrees and pumped into storage tanks, in which it is transferred to large tank trucks. These trucks, lined with stainless steel, continue the chain of operations that preclude any possibility of infection. The turret is closed and sealed, and the great truck speeds on to the big milk plant in the city. Or in boxcars that house stainless steel tanks, the milk is transported to the pasteurizing and bottling plant in the city, transported by rail. Here we see the first step in the process of pasteurization. The milk passes over coils which heat it to 143 degrees Fahrenheit. It is then pumped to holding tanks where a continuing temperature of 143 degrees Fahrenheit is maintained for half an hour. This makes it bacteriologically safe. During this time, the milk is gently agitated to keep the temperature even throughout the tank. From the holding tanks, the pasteurized milk is pumped to the cooler, where the temperature quickly drops as the milk passes over successive coils of refrigeration. Here, as in the other stages of milk processing, samples are taken to be tested for purity. If anything, the checking and double-checking that has been so conspicuous a part of each phase of the production is intensified here, as exemplified in the manner in which each bottle is subjected to a 30-minute washing, sterilization, and cleaning, then carefully checked to make sure they meet the standard of cleanliness set for them. Then these glistening bottles move along to the automatic filling machine. Then capped and sealed. Here is the perfect realization of an achievement that started back with the dairy herd in the country barn. A comparatively few hours have passed from the actual milking to the complete packaging of a superb product. 2 pounds of good food and hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of work and laboratory protection are capped and sealed into that bottle. 2 whole pounds of good food and at a cost of only 7 to 9 cents a pound. One of the most inexpensive foods you can buy in terms of food value. There is actually more solid food and less water in 2 pounds of milk than there is in 2 pounds of any or a combination of any of the foods you see here. That's a very important fact. Keep it in mind while we return to the Allen family and find them in the living room following dinner. Sue and Bill and Bob are singing some old favorites.
Old open pocket, the iron-bound bucket, the wood-covered market that hangs hung in the well.
Well, kids, I'm going to bed. You know, Helen, Jim Feller's got out 3 more propeller blades than I did today.
And I was 1 up on them all morning.
If I could get a good night's sleep, maybe I could hold up to him tomorrow.
I'm sure you can, darling.
Well, I've got to run along now, too.
What's your hurry, Sue?
I've got a nutrition class in the morning.
Well, I've got to go back to camp in the morning. So, goodbye, Mr. Allen.
Goodbye, Bill. Take care of yourself.
Goodbye, dear. Now be sure to come home for the holidays.
If Uncle Sam lets me.
I hope so.
Yes, Bill went back to camp, and Bob went back to his unhappy status as a civilian. Why hadn't he made the grade? He was puzzled, but not Sue, as we discover when we eavesdrop on them at luncheon the next day.
Well, that's all hocus pocus. Vitamins, minerals, and stuff.
It's not hocus pocus. In fact, I think it's partly responsible for you not having passed your physical, Bob.
Oh, Susie.
Really, Bob, I don't think you eat properly.
Why, Susie, my mom's the best cook in the whole world.
Oh, of course she is. But maybe you and your father and Teddy just don't want to eat the right kind of food. Oh, miss, may I have another dish of ice cream, please?
I don't think I want anything else.
There. See what I mean? Now, why don't you order a glass of milk, Bob? Or a dish of ice cream? You should eat ice cream every chance you get. It's not only good, but it's good for you.
Good? You bet it is. It's rich in energy-building properties, proteins, butter fat, carbohydrates, minerals, and vitamins. Besides, it's darn good eating, as every lover of ice cream will attest. Maybe you'd like to know how it's made. Of course, this young man doesn't care. He knows it's delicious, and that's enough. But in case you're interested, well, let's pay a visit to a modern ice cream plant. And this is about as good a place as any to start. Here into a 500-gallon tank is poured pure cream, along with other dairy products and energy-building sugar in specific proportions, forming a mix that is heated for 30 minutes at a minimum temperature of 155 degrees Fahrenheit. Following pasteurization, the mix passes to the homogenizer, a unique machine that breaks up the butter fat globules and gives the ice cream its smooth, velvety texture. The batch continues on to the cooler, where it passes over the refrigerated coils and drops more than 100 degrees in temperature in the passing. From the cooler, the batch goes to the holding tanks and thence to the flavor room, where in smaller tanks, the pure, fine fruits and flavors are added in such quantities as are required in each particular instance. This is the final step in preparation and freezing. The mix then flows into a continuous freezer. Then it is quickly frozen, packaged, and ready for market. Attractively clean young ladies match the tempo of the flow of the frozen mix, skillfully filling each container with brimming goodness. And sending it on its health-giving way, first to the hardening room, and then to the ultimate destination, the dealer and you, the consumer. Here, too, as in the preparation of all dairy products, the utmost cleanliness is observed. At the end of each day's work, all equipment is scrubbed and washed and made spotlessly clean for the next usage. To make doubly certain the work has been well done, each piece of equipment is carefully inspected. It must meet the approval of the laboratory technician, and that is an exacting standard. Yes, as Sue assured Bob, ice cream is good, and it's good for you, and will remain so as long as watchful eyes in the laboratory can protect its goodness. But let's get back to the Allens.
Well, what's troubling you?
Oh, Joey Smoot's made the team, Pop.
That's so. How about you?
That darn coach must have it in for me or something. He says I don't have enough wind. And it's not so.
Well, I keep on trying.
Gosh, I'm tired.
You know, Helen, I don't know how Jim Fellows does it. He always beats me out in the afternoon. He's 12 propeller blades up on me now for the month.
Never mind, dear. We all know you're doing the best you can. What? Why, hello, Sue.
Hi, everybody.
Your mother tells me you've joined the wave.
Oh, I told Mother not to say anything about it yet. Besides, I still have to pass my physical.
Why, Sue, you didn't tell me.
Well, Bob, I'm not in yet.
Well, I hope you make it, Susie. Oh, a letter from Bill. When did this come, Mom?
This afternoon.
Listen to this. Dear Bob, well, I just got back to camp in time for chow. You know, people kid a lot about Army groceries, but mess calls, one bugle call, nobody misses. One thing you do acquire in this man's army is an appetite. That is, if you haven't got one when you get in, which most of us have. And don't let anybody tell you that Uncle Sam doesn't spread himself on what it takes to fill a fighting man. Brother, he really gives out on the meat, vegetables, dairy products, and such like. And ice cream, boy, you should see these soldiers stow it away, including, of course, yours truly. Well, this is all for now. Give my regards to what's left of the gang, and keep me posted on things going on in the old hometown. Yours for victory, Bill. Mom, do you think there could be something to all this? Sue thinks we don't eat the right kind of food.
Young lady, Mrs. Allen is the best cook alive. You'll never learn to cook or bake as well as she does.
Oh, of course I won't, Mr. Allen. But that's not what I meant. And neither did I mean that proper eating would make supermen of you overnight.
But it might help you to match Mr. Feller's record at the plant, Pop.
Yes. And it might even help Teddy to make the tea.
What's that? Say, do
And
you
who
think that-
knows? It might even help Bob to pass his physical. It's really important, Mrs. Allen. Why, only this morning in class, the nutrition expert said,
It's up to us, the homemakers, not some of us or part of us, but all of us, to see that people get the proper food for maximum energy and fortification against illness. We women have a good foundation to build on because America has and does eat plenty. However, almost every individual in the nation is working on an uphill grade. So let's begin at the bottom. Proper food doesn't have to cost extra money. Meals of high nutritive value are not measured by cost. Often low-costing foods, chosen on the basis of food value alone, will give a better return in health and energy than will high-priced meals picked at random. Today, any food that is not essential to body requirements is an expensive food, and any food not eaten is expensive. But essential foods such as milk, cheese, cottage cheese are never expensive. These basic, easily digested foods, with a generous helping of ice cream, can quickly total up to the amount of milk every man and woman and child should eat or drink each day, a quart if possible. Along with that, you should serve 3 vegetables every day, and one of them should be eaten raw. Under no circumstances overcook the other 2. When cooking the other 2, cover and cook in a minimum amount of water. And don't waste the valuable vegetable juices. Add them to soups, cream sauces, or chill and serve as a drink. When cooking leafy vegetables, use no water. Those drops of water clinging to the leaves from washing are sufficient. As for fruit, serve at least 2 a day. Citrus fruits, such as oranges and grapefruit, are especially good. If you don't serve fruit, you can serve tomatoes in a salad or in other ways. A meat, poultry, fish, or cheese dish should be served every day. And bland foods, such as liver and sweetbreads, are particularly good. In selecting meats, it isn't necessary to purchase expensive cuts. There are just as many protein, mineral, and vitamin values in the cheaper meat as in the more costly ones. We should choose our foods for their nutritive values. To round out a good balance, every person should eat 3 to 4 eggs a week, at least 2 servings of cereal, whole grain or restored, or whole wheat or enriched bread, and 2 tablespoons of butter or fortified substitute should be served every day. Of course, for the duration, all of these foods may not be available all the time. but Americans will always have an ample supply and an adequate variety of body-building energy foods. All the vitamins are present in food, so get them the natural way, in the food you eat. And if you do, your eating becomes a weapon, a powerful secret weapon, a silent weapon which works in a million little ways to help achieve that goal of victory so dear to us all.
It's a fundamental fact that simply can't be ignored, folks. Proper eating is a powerful silent weapon. A weapon that will protect you as individuals as well as us as a nation, just as it protects armies. We've all heard the saying that an army marches on its stomach.
An army marches on its stomach. So said Napoleon. An army must do more than march. It must also work and fight on its stomach. But behind the fighting army, there must be an even bigger army, an army of production, a vast, gigantic, never-tiring army that must and will provide our fighting men with the tools of war. That production army works on its stomach. You've got a sacred duty to perform, you women. You've got to feed properly that man and woman working in the war plant, in the store, in the office. They're fighting a war just as though they had bayonets in their hands. Whatever they're doing, store clerk, engineer, steel worker, ship fitter, armature winder, lathe hand, women on the assembly line. They're in this fight with their hands, their backs, and the sweat of their muscles. They're the makers of guns, ships, airplanes, bombs, and rifles. But 10 to 14% of that production army will be away from work every day of this year. 10 to 14 out of every 100 workers will be away, many of them because they were not fed properly. Oh, you'll feed them plenty, but not always properly. You housewives, don't let some soldier's ghost whisper in your ear. If you had fed your family properly instead of too much, I would have had another round of ammunition.
Well, from now on, my men are going to eat rightly.
Good for you, Mrs. Allen. And don't let them argue at mealtime. Mealtime should be a pleasant time, and every mouthful of food should be enjoyed. It aids digestion.
Hey, what are you trying to do? Give us eating lessons?
You'd be surprised, Teddy, how many people really need them.
Susie, how's about giving me some lessons on how to eat a tub full of ice cream at one sitting?
Oh, Teddy.
We Americans have a heritage of vigor, a heritage not nurtured by a handful of rice, but nurtured on dairy products, meat, vegetables, fruit, happiness. And now, let's look into the future. Mrs. Allen followed through. She improved the eating habits of her men. And now...
I made it! Gee whiz, Mom, I'm on the team.
Hi, wonderful. Good for you.
Wait till Pop hears about it.
And steady plugging Marty Allen began to match his neighbor's factory record. That's why Helen's been buying a lot more war stamps. And Bob, well, Bob made the grade. He's in the Army now, and a happier and prouder soldier doesn't exist. Now, let's look at destiny. Our destiny may lie in a little tin box. Wait, did I say little tin box? Well, it's not just a little tin box. It's a symbol, a great symbol of a mighty nation at work. It's the force, the energy that stands behind 1,000,000 guns. It's the fuel that builds the tanks, the ships, and the planes that will yet loosen from bondage 100 freedom-loving nations. The little tin lunch pail, as American as an ice cream soda. If you put energy, strength, and vitality into that little tin box, your husband or your son will put it into tanks and planes and ships and guns. There they go, young America. Proud, strong, healthy, vigorous, great America. The incarnate spirit of every man and woman who ever dreamed of freedom. Can't let them down. We won't let them down. You mothers, sisters, sweethearts in homes everywhere, this is your big job, your contribution. And of course you'll come through because you love them and they're banking on you.